What's up, everybody? It's Matt here with Classic Firearms, and with me today I have Alec.
What's going on, guys?
And today is a really exciting video for me because we're going to cover one of my favorite topics, firearms of World War II.
Yeah, love some good classic guns.
Absolutely. So all these guns are CNR eligible, and they are a fantastic way to get into collecting firearms. So we're going to start right off here with Clint's #1 World War II firearm.
Yeah, he does talk about this thing a lot.
A lot. He talks about how it's like his first rifle and stuff.
Yeah.
So Clint, even though you're not here with us, we love you, man. In your honor, the first gun we're going to cover is the M1 Carbine. And of course, this is just a great little carbine, lightweight. 30 carbine's got low recoil.
Mm-hmm.
You can still get pretty good capacity because you have 15 and 30 round mags. I would say it's one of the really most popular guns of World War II.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I know, like towards the earlier part of the war, the M1 Garand was really popular with these coming, especially in the Pacific Theater with the Marines and stuff like that. They needed a more lighter, maneuverable platform. And the 30 carbine's a great cartridge. Traditionally a pistol cartridge, but I mean, and this functioned very, very well, especially for that kind of damp environment they were in.
Well, I definitely feel like 30 carbine falls right between pistol and rifle. It's kind of like a 357 Magnum.
Yeah, it's weird.
But actually, this was the most produced rifle of World War II for the Americans. We produced more of this than M1 Garands or Thompson submachine guns or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely one reason why this would be our #1 takeaway as an American World War II rifle.
Yeah, and I think they're cool too in a lot of the configurations that they came in with, like the paratrooper, the folding stock, and some of the other ones. I mean, it's just, I think if you look at, the M1 Garand definitely has its spot in history, but if you look at a lot of the iconic photos and stuff like that, you'll see a USGI carrying one of these bad boys. Yeah,
that's a great thing about collecting is you can get into all those minutiae about the variations and stuff. But they say that even in the military, even in the middle of a war, you're going to spend 90% of the time carrying the rifle and only 10% of the time shooting it. So something that's lighter weight, easier to hold, definitely going to be popular. You can carry more ammo for the same amount of weight.
And I can't even imagine being in World War II. Like it's something that I cannot fathom. Kind of modern conflicts that we've been in, even like the most that we would typically patrol would be maybe 10, 15 miles, like maximum.
So walking from France to Germany doesn't sound...
No, it doesn't sound like a good time to me. But it really does blow my mind. And again, either in the European theater or Italy, North Africa, and even in the Pacific theater, those guys just really walked and walked and walked. It blows my mind. So yeah, definitely needed something lightweight to do that. And this guy is probably like 6 pounds, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. If that.
I definitely think there's plenty of ARs I've held that are way heavier than this gun.
Yeah, and with 30 carbine too, you can carry a lot more ammo than that big beefy 30-06.
Yeah, and if you were lucky enough to get like an M2, then full auto.
Yeah, that's true. Cool.
All right, so that's going to cover our #1 pick for the American rifle, the M1 Carbine. All right, so jumping to the other side of the Atlantic and the other side of the conflict, we have the best known rifle of the Axis powers, the German K90.
Yep. This thing actually has, it was obviously like pre-World War II. The K98 rifle has been around for a very, very long time. Everyone talks about the Mauser action. That's kind of what it was known for. In my opinion, the Mauser rifle, which, not jumping ahead here, talking about the infield rifles, but in my opinion, the Mauser rifle was probably one of the most, not only mechanically intuitive rifles, but probably one of the most well-built bolt action rifles of all time.
Well, certainly I would agree with the well-built part. It's renowned for the strength of its action. It's been copied just countless times throughout history in so many different calibers. You couldn't even list them in a video without YouTube cutting you off or something. But the K90, I feel, is a great example of kind of firearms development at that World War II point where everyone was going to a shorter rifle. They realized they didn't need to hit targets at 700 yards with their standard issue rifle. And it was lighter, easier to carry, but still use that full strength rifle cartridge.
And the Mauser rifle cartridge is definitely, it's a powerhouse. There's no doubt about it.
8x57 Mauser is a fantastic rifle cartridge. It's great for hunting. People still use that nowadays. I don't think it's seen any military service since, probably the 50s or 60s.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
But, the K90, again, it is just, like you said, a fantastic rifle from a user standpoint. Action's always super smooth. You have that, kind of 3-position safety that's very classic for a Mauser. And then, just one of the kind of most renowned war implements of history.
Yeah, and obviously, whether you agree or disagree with what was going on at that time, you have to kind of take this with a grain of salt for what it is. These firearms have a lot of history behind them, even though typically its bad history, but it is history nonetheless.
Well, it's human history.
Yeah, exactly. And looking at these rifles too, one of the cool things that I like is seeing like kind of the proof marks and stuff. Like on here, there's some marks above the receiver. You got Mod 98 marked on the backside here. This one doesn't have any eagles on it, but that's another traditional marking.
If you're interested in that minutia, that detail that we talked about earlier, like German firearms are fantastic because they marked like every piece.
Oh yeah, I mean they were meticulous, like record keepers.
Exactly, they had so many different proof marks where you can look at a proof mark and trace it to like the year and city it was proofed in. So it makes it really interesting to get into all of that detail. But I mean, absolutely, number one German firearm in World War II, the K90. All right, and we've moved on to our English allies and their rifle of World War II. In fact, the magazine Lee Enfield is one that served for a long, long time in the UK. Now, you might take a look at this and say, well, that looks a lot like the other rifle we just saw, the K98, because it is a bolt-action rifle, but there are several differences. First off, it is a detachable magazine fat as opposed to an internal magazine, and it holds 10 rounds, which would have been quite the advantage at that time.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously we have some differences here in the construction. So there's a two-part stock. The stock butt here is completely separate from the rest of the stock. And it's a cock-on close action, which is pretty unusual when it comes to bolt-action rifle design. So rather than cocking as you open it, you can see that there's no cocking back here at the striker. When you close it is when it cocks. And that also means that when you open it, it's going to kind of spring open unless you've actually fired the rifle. As opposed to the Mauser design, which cocks as you lift the lever to open it. They thought that was just kind of biomechanically a better design because it meant that you were working with that pushing motion. I don't know, what do you think about it?
I'm definitely a big fan of the Enfield rifles. I mean, there's been so many iterations of this rifle. I mean, it definitely served and got its time throughout the war. Like you said, the 10-round box-fed magazine is definitely a big advantage over the internal magazines at the time that the Germans were using. We talk about the Mad Minute and things like that. Like the Enfield was a very fast cycling rifle, and with their action too, I like it because you have the striker back here. So if for some reason it's dirty or anything like that, you can simply just pull it back, and then you can have a second strike to see if that round's going to go off. So I think that's really cool. I also like the kind of ergonomics of these. Like they feel very nice in the hand and they're very easy to shoot. And again, the 303 British is another powerhouse of a cartridge. So I like them a lot.
And one of my favorite parts is that the English Empire spanned all across the world, so you could see these things coming from Australia, from Canada, from India, and you can see what they got turned into after World War II. So you've seen some of these turned into 410 shotguns for police riot control. In fact, the Canadian Mounted Police, I think through the early 2000s, still had the option to use this as a firearm for their service. But yeah, so definitely again something with a really long service history and very interesting with all the places it's come from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going back to our honorable mentions for Germany, we have the MP40. Well, originally submachine gun. This is a semi-automatic rendition.
No
of
fun
it.
switch.
No, unfortunately. So actually, the original did not have a fun switch. It was just always fully auto, and it was an open bolt design. So it fired from the bolt being back here, and as it closed, it would automatically fire. This is a closed bolt semi-automatic design from American Tactical. But still, it gives you an idea of what the handling would be. This is in the original caliber of 9mm, which is what the original submachine was in. I mean, pretty hefty little beast there.
Yeah, they are pretty hefty. I like these a lot. I definitely don't think they're as cool as the Thompson. Maybe I'm just biased coming from the American side. But one thing, you kind of got to give the Germans credit in their engineering and ingenuity. Granted, there's no like modern marvels going on with this, but the one thing that they did have in their favor is very cheap to produce, and they could just pump these things out. And it was a pretty effective platform. A lot of field-grade officers carried these, a lot of tankers especially, or if you were any kind of vehicle. I mean, it's very, obviously there's no stock on here, so you can just kind of put it in and out the truck or in and out the tank, whatever you're doing. And you have a high-capacity magazine, a 9mm, so, and in a pretty decent fire rate.
Now, what's interesting is that the cyclic rate was actually well known to be fairly low, which is what made it very controllable. So it's kind of that bup, 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 bup. But yeah, absolutely. I think while it's not the epitome of World War II submachine gun design, because that has to go to like the PPS 43.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It is a great submachine gun design and much better from at least an economical standpoint than our Thompson.
Yeah, that and an operational standpoint, like you said, it's very easy to control the recoil. The PPS was just like, and then they're all gone. And the Thompson as well. The Thompson shot pretty fast. And you know, when the Thompson got dirty, it didn't really like to work that much.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah. So these they worked pretty good, and they, you know, super controllable, and they were cheap and easy to produce.
All right. So this is our runner-up behind the K98, is our second place firearm for German World War II design.
Yep.
All right, guys, and the number 5 of our top 5 of World War II here is the Mosin Nagant, the 9130.
Yes. I mean, millions and millions, literally, of these things have been produced, like, over time. They are
definitely the most prodigious produced rifle of World War II.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it's really interesting to see how long it served, because, you know, we have a rifle that was basically introduced in 1891.
Yeah.
And then through changes, shortening it and such, you know, it lasted all the way through the 40s until basically the production of modern, you know, assault rifle style rifles.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 9130 is fantastic. It's got 7.62 by 54R is the caliber, which I love. I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but I'm a big fan of that caliber. Very powerful, full-size, full-powered rifle round.
Big, chunky, speedy boy.
Yeah, big honking boy.
Yeah.
And you know, some of it isn't necessarily, you know, super rocket science. You know, it's 5-round internal box mag, bolt action. It does use an action that's a little bit different from, say, like a Mauser or something, but it is still cock on close. Cock on open.
Yeah.
You know, it. Of course, you know, you have things like the sights being measured in kind of weird units under Imperial Russia. That was an Arshin. But still, it's a, you know, probably one of the classic rifles to get into collecting military surplus.
Absolutely. I'll tell you an embarrassing story. My first time I ever shot a Mosin rifle, I was a younger adult. Being left-handed, obviously, like we both are, I tried to cock the rifle, and when I did, I slapped myself in the face. Laugh at me down in the comment section below, please. It was pretty embarrassing.
Well, so just if you want to imagine, guys, so, you know, as a left-hander, bolt actions aren't always our friend. So you have
particularly not this bolt action.
You have this awkward reach over the top, and you kind of pull it straight back towards your face. So I can definitely see where that might have happened.
It didn't feel good, but yet I kept shooting. So
that's right. You know, yet rifle's fine. But yeah, so you know, again, if you're interested in getting into military surplus, this is definitely one of those ways that get you in there kind of economically. While they no longer are as cheap as they once were, you know, certainly you can still pick up one of these things for like, you know, $200-300.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be someone screaming down in the comment section below. I bought one of those for $10. Back in the day.
Back when milk was a nickel.
Yeah, sorry, man. They're not that cheap anymore.
But, you know, speaking of, you know, full-powered rifle rounds, I think we're going to go to our number 1...
honorable mention?
Honorable mention?
Yeah, definitely deserves an honorable mention and a shout-out.
The classic M1 Garand, so the finest implement of war ever devised.
Yep.
So 30-06, it's got an 8-round internal magazine fed by a M-block clip. So the cool thing about that was you had such a massive advantage over most competitors when it came to reloading, because you just shoved the whole packet down there.
Yeah, they were cool too with the piston system in them. They were very reliable even when they were dirty. You know, they're very accurate, and that 30-06 cartridge, again, very beefy. You know, even with the Garand, there was some sniper variants that were out there. So I mean, you could really, you know, reach out and touch someone with this thing. And the recoil too is pretty much non-existent. I mean, even though you're firing a very, you know, bulky round, and this is still relatively a light gun. I mean, it's definitely not as light as the Carbine by any stretch, but I mean, you would think that it would have a much higher kick than it does, but it doesn't. I mean, you can really put some rounds down range with this thing if you had to.
And I've always been more of a fan of open sights, but you know, with the peep sight and the adjustable sight, I mean, it's definitely a fantastic marksman's rifle as well.
Yeah.
So M1 Garand is our number 1 runner-up for the Americans, and probably overall, like it's probably our...
Yeah, I would say so. And go ahead and comment down in the comment section below if you've ever gotten Garand thumb. It hurts pretty bad. I shared an embarrassing story about me punching myself in the face, so let's hear your Garand thumb story.
There you go.
I know
maybe
everyone
Garand
has
thumb will
one.
come down and comment too.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Well, I think you know, it's time to mention our giveaway.
Our sweet giveaway.
Our sweet
modern
package
rifle
giveaway. Yeah. So this is the opposite of what we talk about. We've been talking about really cool and like, you know, surplus kind of military style rifles.
Yeah.